We go. Okay, and just John, keep your eyes open for anybody else popping in. I'm going to share my screen. Tonight's topic
Do you
is,
want to make me a co-host in the event that,
okay. You have got to be co-host. All right.
I don't know whether I can admit people if I'm not a co-host?
I got it.
No, you won't see the
Uh,
pop-ups.
I keep the participants list up.
Make co-host. You are co-host. And let me just change mine.
Drew is a co-host.
Am I?
You just made Drew a co-host.
I did.
Yeah.
I
Not
don't
me.
know. I don't know.
We'll try it again. All right, you're both co-hosts. Anybody pops in, just give them the okay.
Yeah.
Tonight's topic is about the end of life of Windows 10.
Richard's here.
Now, I have prepared, I wasn't going to do this, but I prepared an overview outline as a jumping off point. And I'd like to, start with that, and then we'll take step by step different issues, preparation, and different options. You all have a chance to ask questions or make suggestions or throw up your hands and say, I'm going to not do anything right now. So we have lots of choices. Let me get my presentation. Where am I? Are you seeing my screen with the
Yes.
PowerPoint?
Yes.
It
What?
something is covering it.
Can you see it
Now
now?
it's okay.
Now it's
Yep.
okay?
Yeah, now you're in the selection, so you need to start a slideshow if you
Yeah,
want.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Can you see the PowerPoint slideshow?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. This is kind of just going to be an overview again of what to do about the update, whether to update or not to update Windows 10 to Windows 11, if you can. What are the requirements? And should you? What about your applications, your programs? The other option, of course, is to buy or not to buy a new PC with Copilot. It looks very, very interesting, but it's going to be a rapid change as far as I can see. Or to switch or not to switch to Linux or Chromebook. And I'm going to give you my reasons why you might want to do that. And it's not an all or nothing thing. I'm not saying abandon Windows 10, but I'm just going to give you my opinion as what we might want to do with the Linux and the Chromebook options. So it's what are some of the options? What are some of the strategies for us? The issue is Windows 10 end of support October 14th, 2025. Option number one is do nothing. Option number two, preparations. It's not a option, rather, it's preparations to make the decision. We're going to cover that. Option number two is there's this thing called Extended Security Updates, ESU. It's a paid program or paid subscription. Option number three, bolster security on your existing PC. Option 4A is switch to Linux or Chromebook, but I'm putting a little limitation on that. I'm not saying it's an all or nothing thing. I'm saying for internet access only or at least. And part of that is, well, if you have an internet access and you have you're still your Windows 10, you might want to consider remote desktop or a simple network. And I'm going to give you some ideas about a simple network. And I mean simple. Option number 5 would be a new PC with Copilot. Option number 6 is going to be on our discussion tonight, but I'm just mentioning it. Virtual machines, sandboxing, or Dockers. And if you don't know what any of those are, you have lots of company, so nothing to worry about tonight. Okay, so this back to the issue. The issue is Microsoft will no longer provide free software updates from Windows Updates, technical assistance, which I don't think I've ever called Microsoft. I can't remember if I did or I didn't, maybe way back, Windows 3.1, or I just can't remember. But you won't get the security fixes for Windows 10. That's a bummer. Your PC will still work. How long will it work? It may work indefinitely until Microsoft decides to change something else. However, your PC may be vulnerable to cyber attacks. Anybody wish to add anything to the issue? Any
Well,
comments?
I think that it might be useful to distinguish home users from anybody. First of all, home users and shared PCs and PCs that are used in business. And that I think that we're probably going to limit it to the first two of those. Home users, possibly with shared PCs. That business users really should upgrade. It's a business expense and they are much more vulnerable.
Fair enough. Anybody else want to add anything?
Oh, just
Well, my opinion is that Windows 10, the operating system part, hasn't been updated in a while, and whatever bugs there are in Windows are minimal, or at least not security related. You lose primarily is the Windows Defender. I'm running now on all of my computers the Avast free antivirus, which comes with a firewall. So it gives you anti-malware, it protects your web browsers, and it has a firewall, and it's free. And it protects you from malware and viruses, scans your outbound and inbound email. Um, so that, in combination with a Windows 10 computer, I think is fine for a few years to come.
Okay, Drew, let's hold off a little bit on that because that's going to be one of the options of bolstering your security on an existing Windows 10 PC. And I think you're in company with Gabe Goldberg, who says pretty much the same thing. But anybody want to add to what is the issue here in terms of the demise of Windows 10 and the fact that your PC will still continue to work? And
I
will
would
you?
ignore anything about the business user. Coming from a larger corporation, they do their own thing. They're going to have their own private agreements with Microsoft, and they may still get, or it's also out of your hands. It's not something that you're going to have in most cases. You work for a company, you're not going to be holding the keys to the kingdom on whether or not you upgrade. So I wouldn't even bring business users into the equation. This is for home users.
Yeah, I saw something today concerning Windows Server. For additional $1.50 a month, you get hot fixes or hot update security fixes. So yeah, we're in a different league. We're end users. Hello, Howard Goldberg. Welcome. We're just getting started,
Hi.
Howard. The
How
talk-
you doing? Do you hear me?
Yeah, Red, I've got a different point of view about Windows security. I think anyone that thinks they've got a secure operating system with Windows is kidding themselves. If you
Okay.
look at how Windows runs, you've got something over 100 background processes, any of which could be compromised at any time, and you've got absolutely no idea what half those processes are doing. So, as I say, if you think Windows is a secure system, you are kidding yourself.
Okay, your point is well taken. And let me continue because we're going to talk more about the bolstering of security, which you say pretty much, Richard's from Australia. Recognize your voice. It's quite distinguished. Um, so what we're talking about the remedies of bolstering security, whether it is in fact even possible. But let me continue with the next slide. So one of the options, of course, is to do nothing and wait and see. Now, that's not a bad option because you'll be in the company of an estimated 240 to 500 million Windows 10 users. I've heard the numbers in between that range of people who have stuck with Windows 10. They've not gone to Windows 11. So there's lots and lots of company. Now, let's make some intelligent discussion and intelligent decisions based upon some testing or pre-testing to help you make the decision. One of them is,
Sorry.
do you want a free upgrade to Windows 11? And if so, how do you do it? Well, all you need, from what I understand, I haven't done this because my computer, as you see down at the bottom here, says PC doesn't currently meet Windows 11 system requirements. So I failed this health test. And these are all links. When I give you my slideshow, these links will take you to a PC health check. And I can show you that tonight, show you what it looks like. But the free upgrade to Windows 11 is simply going to Windows Update, choosing Settings, Update, and Security. And you then, if your computer permits, will be moved to Windows 11. And in all likelihood, 90, I never say 100%, but 90+% of your programs will carry over.
Yeah.
Will there be a program that will not carry over? Don't know. That's happened in the past, and it probably will happen in the future. Comments about the free upgrade to Windows 11?
Just a question. Is there any valid reason? I'm in your boat, Fred, down at the doesn't meet requirements. But for those that are up at bullet number 1, where the free upgrade is available and they meet the system requirements, is there any reason not to, whether it's now or in the future, any reason not to upgrade to Windows 11 that you can think of?
Is there any reason not to upgrade to Windows 11?
Well, maybe we ought to ask a question of the people who are here. How many people are already on Windows 11?
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
I have a comment on the idea of upgrading.
Let's answer that question, Gabe, before we do that.
Okay,
I
sure.
mean, if you go into gallery view, I'll raise my hand. Let's see, in the React,
Yeah,
right?
let's do React and
Raise hand.
raise hand. How come I'm not getting
okay.
recognize hand gestures? No, play chime.
I have,
You've got Windows 11, right, Fred?
Yeah, I'm on Windows 11 right now. Recognize hand gestures.
It's in the React.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but yeah, I got it, but it's not doing it.
So we're actually
Oh, there it
talking
is.
to,
There it is. Okay. So
we're
one,
actually talking to people here who have a decision to make.
So what do we have here, John? You want to count? Somebody want to count?
You just have a thumbs down.
Richard,
I have a thumbs down because I don't have Windows 10 or Windows 11.
Okay, so there's 4 of us.
3.
Well, my hand is
Four,
not.
including Fred.
Oh, wait,
four.
here I go. Here I go. I finally found it.
I
Okay.
have Windows 11. I don't
Gabe?
know what.
Nope, I'm on 10.
So we got 4 out of 11 people who have
got
Windows
Windows
11, and other people who apparently have a choice to make. So if you have questions about making that, have you already determined what you're going to do?
Well,
If you've already determined that you're going to upgrade to Windows 11 by one way or the other,
yeah,
why
let's
don't you
just
put your hand up as well?
let's just hold off. That's one of the options. We don't want to force anybody to make that decision right here and now. That's just one of the options, John. So the answer to the question is, how many do we have in the meeting tonight?
Right now,
11.
there's 11.
About a third of us.
I don't know what's the gesture.
Yeah, so we have, I have more than one computer. So I have, Windows 10, I have XP in a virtual machine. I have laptops with earlier versions of Windows 10. So, I'm using a Windows 11. I have the capability of using Windows 10 within this Windows 11. I have a capability of running XP in this Windows 11. So okay, that gives us a poll. So let's continue with the outline. Okay. Now, in order to run Windows 11, let's talk about the requirements.
Got to move a few things off the top of your screen. Yeah.
The top of my screen?
No, the
Black
Zoom.
bars. You got some black bars across the lettering.
I don't see it.
Yeah. Hide the meeting controls.
Let me hit the Alt key. They're at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you okay now at the top?
No, the black bar is still there.
I don't see where it's coming.
Black bars over PC health check. Got PC health check and that's a black bar.
Which is the Zoom window. That's
Yeah.
what happened.
No, I hide the controls. It's gone.
I'll keep going.
Try,
It may
now that
disappear.
you hid the controls, try stopping the share and restarting it with the controls hidden.
Well, the controls are showing now. Let me hide the controls.
Oh, the
So now it's what
shortcut to share.
Control S, is it? Or Alt
I don't-
S. It's Alt S, okay. Any better?
Still there.
In fact, it's worse.
Yeah, it is worse. Oh,
Just keep going.
No, that's not good. That's not good.
oh, now it's bad.
Well, I don't
All
have,
black. It's all black. We don't see any slide. There you go. Now you got a
There we
slide
go.
with black.
Yeah. All right, that's good enough.
good enough.
Yeah, keep going.
Sorry about that, guys. See if I make a smaller screen.
No, just keep going.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the system requirements for going to Windows 11 from Windows 10. Now, they always state the minimum memory. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Before I go, Gabe, you had a comment and I cut you off. Gabe Goldberg?
Hi, yeah, thanks. I've already made my decision, but the point that I wanted to make is that I would just be averse to doing an operating system upgrade in place. And the reason for that is that you're putting your new operating system on top of all of the sludge that Windows 10 has collected for however long you've been running Windows 10. And so when it's time for me to run Windows 11, it will be a clean install. It'll probably be on a new machine. I'm going to buy the 1 year of extended security patches, and sometime in the year 2026, I will probably replace my computer and my wife's. I guess when voting on what I'm running, I'm voting twice, once for my computer, once for my wife's, and I really want to keep us both on the same operating system just for my sanity, since I support her computer. And I'm not going to upgrade either one to 11. I'll just end up buying two new computers, a new laptop for her, and probably a new tower for me. But I would just be inclined to avoid the upgrade because you're in place, because you're carrying forward, detritus that you've collected maybe over a decade.
Then there's the issue, what do you do with all your programs?
Reinstall them.
Lucky you.
Set up a new computer. Setting up a new computer is a pain, but I have a log of everything I've installed. And I did that when I went from Windows 7 to Windows 10. I installed everything that I needed and spent, a while doing all the tweaks to make the system dance the way that I want to. But a clean install, everything installed brand new, has a lot of appeal to me.
Well, I agree with you. I'm a veteran of PC Laplink or Laplink's PC Mover, I think they called it. And that took a weekend or more. It is doable, but you still have to have all those registration codes. In some cases, you have to completely uninstall. In other cases, there's no way, shape, or form that your programs will carry over. I don't use them, but I literally have close to 100 programs that I'd have to carry over. I just couldn't do a clean install as much as I would love to do it. Did I hear anybody comment?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd love,
in this,
go ahead, Andy.
I'm in a similar church to Gabe, but a different pew. I would go ahead with the upgrade over an existing Windows 10. And I would do it for a couple of reasons. Number one, to avoid any potential licensing issues. Download, I've done clean installs with Windows 10 on existing machines, and you run into getting the magic number, the code to put in there. I don't know where the hell all these numbers are, what the codes were. You deal with a lot of machines. Number two is what applications are getting brought over. So I would do the free upgrade to Windows 11 and, do a regular preps, have a backup and have a listing of all the applications that get installed. Do the upgrade to Windows 11 and see how it is. You can always, at that point, do a full backup on a Windows 11 and then do a complete reinstall, a clean install, and you know that everything that was there should work anyway because it did work. It's also an early indicator of an app that is not going to work. If you have an old application that's been around for years and years, that's been through 9 different upgrades over the years, you might run into a glitch. So it would tell me what I want to keep an eye out for. So, like I said, same church, different pew.
Anybody else like to make a comment, question?
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll go now. In this context, I would suggest that since the major decision for a lot of people is their important applications, get out a spreadsheet and make a list of all of the applications that you have installed, and then prioritize them and take a look and see whether you have the installation media and a license, or it's
Mhm.
gonna, if you try to, you won't be able to install it again because your license, even if it was a lifetime license, may not transfer between machines if you get a new machine. But make a list of all of your applications. I've been going through this with Bill Silverman, because he had a Windows 11 machine and a Windows 8.1 machine, and he didn't use his new Windows 11 machine for 10 or 11 months. And I just kept urging him to move, and now he's moved. But his big obstacle was Photoshop. He has an old Photoshop license. Well, not a subscription. Well, if you have a subscription or any of these things, you may be able to terminate the license on one machine and move the license to another machine. But start by making a list. Make a list of all of the apps that you have, all the programs that you have, and what it's going to take. And then you be able to decide whether you want to do it by doing the upgrade in place or clean machine.
Well, I'll make a comment on that, and this is a suggestion for folks when they put on Windows 11. I'm looking at a text file in which I've logged everything I've done to my Windows 10 system since turning it on. And the most recent entry was the 24th of this month. And coincidentally, that's the 666th line in the file. And so when I install something, I log it. If there's a license key, I log it. When I upgrade something, when I install a new Firefox, new Thunderbird, I log it. And so all I have to do is mine that file for all of the lines that say install, and I have an immediate list of everything I've ever installed. So
Gabe,
that's a tip. That's a tip going forward when you have a new system.
Gabe, are you doing that manually or you have something automated?
I do it manually.
Oh, okay.
You
Is
know,
there,
I install an application. I type a line. It's not a backbreaking effort.
yeah, I keep computer notes. I don't put down the any codes, any registration codes there. I have them elsewhere. But I do make notes when I do something on a computer that's out of the ordinary. Is there somebody want to check with Copilot? Is there an audit trail when you do install that does something automated rather than us having to do it manually? Does anybody
Well, one way to find out what you've got installed is to run Belarc, which
Belarc
is
spell
a
it
That's
spell
just
it so
wonderful
everybody knows it? BEL. Go ahead.
ARC.
Yeah, put that in
And
the chat.
that gives you as detailed an inventory of hardware and software as you could possibly have, and it reveals license codes that it can find.
Only problem with the license code, they're kept on servers. They're not on your computer anymore. We used to use Magic Jelly Bean for that. You're not going to get licenses unless you have old programs. The old programs used to put them hide them in the registry and hide them in all kinds of crazy locations. But when they're on servers, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to get the license. You have to have that license somewhere else. Put Belarc, Gabe, or someone else.
I'm
Please put in
putting
the
it in
chat.
the chat right now.
Okay, let me go ahead a little bit further. What are the hardware requirements now for Windows 11? If you have a Windows 10 machine, you have to have a certain level processor, not your processor that is 10 years old or more that's going to cut it. John, you're pretty much up on that. What was the Intel generation of processors that are required for Windows 11? Do you recall that, or
What was the question?
do you recall the Intel generation of the processor required for Windows 11?
Yeah, after generation 8.
After generation 8 would be required for Windows 11. Is that correct?
Yeah, but they actually just updated that again with the last 24H2 update. They increased the level. So if you don't have, we're up to generation 14 right now. The latest Intel generation is 14. And so if you don't have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, then Windows 11 isn't going to work well.
Okay, for those who are not familiar with generations, briefly define what you mean by a processor generation.
If you go to your start menu in your Windows 10 system and you right click on the start button in the lower left corner and you click on system, which is also accessible in the settings, and it says about your PC. So right at the top, it tells me the machine that I am on is an Intel Core i7 3632QM. That's a third generation. The number after the dash, if it says 1, 2, that's a 12th generation. Mine says 3, 6, that's a third generation, just the 3, because it's either 4 digits or 5 digits after the dash if you have an Intel. If you have an AMD, I don't know how to tell what that is, but you can somehow figure out when you bought this thing. And if you bought it, 9 and 14, 5, if you bought it more than 6 years ago, it's too old.
So if it's just saying i5, that is insufficient. i5, i7, followed by the generation. The higher the generation, the more recent the processor. Is that a fair conclusion in every man's language? That good enough right now?
Yeah.
Okay. The other requirement, somebody else have a comment on the processor?
There are enough different links to websites, Microsoft included, that tell you what processors there are. Get involved with the various generations is, don't even worry about it.
Right.
Go out there, you see what you have. You don't have to get into the details of what's before and after the dot and what generation. You go to the website, tell you how to get the processor that's on your system, and then you just run it against their list. Right.
But the point is that older processors, even though it might be an i5, it still may not be sufficient because it's not a more recent generation. And the other thing is the firmware on your motherboard has to be UEFI secure boot firmware. We're talking about what we used to call the old BIOS. UEFI, for one thing, enables you to access larger capacity hard drives. And the big thing is you have to have a TPM 2.0 chip. TPM is the trusted something.
Platform module.
Platform something.
Yeah.
Platform mod.
Okay. And if your computer is old, it's not going to have that. You can bypass these requirements, but you should not. Can you? You can, but you should not.
Apparently,
Anybody want to add anything?
Microsoft has started to prevent you from bypassing the TPM 2.0 thing by changing the registry.
Now, I want to hand out this this PowerPoint presentation. The hardware requirements will go into more detail and explanation for the processors, the secure boot, the TPM chip module. But let me just show you a PC health check, what that will be on this machine. Now, this is a Windows 11 machine. So when I click on
all black, we only see a big black box.
Yeah. I think there might be a problem with your connection from your PC through the internet to the Zoom. I think that's actually just clutter from not having the screen redrawn properly.
all right, let me not.
Oh, that's because he hasn't got a selection. Zoom doesn't have something to show us.
All right, let me not show you the PC.
You can't see a Zoom window when you're sharing.
Can't see a Zoom window. I clicked on a link. I've done it many a time before. Okay. All right. The PC health check essentially is a link which will show you what is on your computer and whether it meets the requirements regarding the processor, the TPM, and other factors. And it usually comes back with, if your computer is old, it comes back, this PC doesn't currently meet Windows 11 requirements. I'm on a Windows 11 machine, so it would pass the muster. It better. And I think it's a generation, I believe it is i5 generation T 10, 11, 12. I'm not sure. I don't know what generations mean. It just works. Okay, what is this Windows 10 extended security updates? I think Gabe Goldberg mentioned it. It's a paid subscription. It gives you security updates for PCs enrolled in the program. It's for individuals and organizations of all sizes, and extends the use of Windows 10 devices past the end of support date in a more secure manner. And every 3 years, I think currently the price is like $30. It'll be $30 a year. And after 3 years, I think it's going to increase as much as maybe twice, I believe, but it might.
I think that for consumers, they've said at least right now, there's only 1 year will be available. I believe they've said businesses can get up to 3 years, and for the businesses, the cost doubles each time. And so obviously, this is all what Microsoft has announced now. If they find that a year later in 2026, if they find that there is still 300 million computers running Windows 10, who knows what they're going to make available. But
Yeah,
for now, it's 1 year for consumers available and 3 for businesses.
fair enough.
Yeah, it goes 30, 60, and then 120. It doubles each year.
Isn't that great?
For businesses.
Okay, option 3A, to keep your Windows running, what to do about security vulnerabilities. Bolster your malware protection. And this is where I think Drew mentioned some things. Gabe has had some posts on our BBS. And the question is, will a different antivirus, paid or otherwise, be enough when Windows 10 support ends to protect you? I've read discussions all over the internet, pros and cons, because as Richard has indicated, Richard Bradford from Australia, Windows under the wrappers is so bad that no matter how much protection you have, it's still vulnerable. What do we think? Anybody want to give some opinions on malware
Oh,
protection, Avast, the free? Drew, you
well,
mentioned. Go
I
ahead.
I use three, actually four, different levels of anti-malware and virus protection. I subscribe to a VPN service that part of the package they give you is anti-malware and advertising stuff for your whole Windows computer. Secondarily, I use the Avast free antivirus plus um, firewall. It scans your inbound and outbound email for attachments, for malware that you might go into a browser. If you try and go to a website that's infected, it will tell you that it's infected and prevent you from going there. Um, so I have the firewall, I have that, and I have a paid license to a program called AdBlock that system-wide in Windows blocks advertising. So when I go on a web page, if I can't get past, there's a lot of websites that I just can't go to because they're infected.
Anybody else want to add something?
I think it's important. I mean, because you're just using the word malware. And I think that this is another place where making the distinctions of what kind of vulnerabilities there are. That the vulnerabilities would have to be in the operating system or in something like the File Explorer, which is changed when you go, there's a new File Explorer when you go to Windows 11, a new Paint program, a new Notepad program. Those programs are being changed, replaced with a new program. The old versions may have vulnerabilities in them, and some brilliant hacker is going to target those vulnerabilities. Well, how do they get into your machine? Through the internet. Now, if you fall for a phishing scam, that doesn't care whether you're on Windows 10 or 11. So it's the vulnerabilities in the programs in Windows 10. Does the anti-malware claim to catch those?
It's
There'll
not
be a
going to
big
catch.
market. There'll be a big market for anti-malware, for antivirus, for anti-rootkit that claims to protect Windows 10. You're going to have to pick a particular one. I don't know whether Avast is going to handle that. They probably will because they're one of the biggest and best. But there'll be a big market for protecting against the vulnerabilities in the Windows 10 components. And that's the only thing that you're worried about. Because if you're on Windows 11 and you're using Chrome or Edge or Firefox or whatever, and you fall for, email, and you fall for a phishing scam, it doesn't care whether you're on Windows 10 or 11. It's going to put something onto your computer that will run on 10 or 11 to gather your information and send it back to them, that kind of thing. So that kind of stuff won't make any difference whether you're on 10 or 11. It's the vulnerabilities in 10 that you're concerned with.
I was searching something today on YouTube, and I saw on the sidebar, you have other things that come up when you're doing something on YouTube, and it wasn't about hacking. It was about something else I was looking for. But on the right sidebar, there was Kevin, the guy that I've used from YouTube, the one that you put in an email.
From Excel.
That you had in there. Anyway, I saw his name, and it said, "I've been hacked." I put it in the chat. So I went and watched it for a little bit, and Windows has App Locker, and he told you about App Locker that stopped him from being hacked. And it was something that tried to download he was doing some C scripting or something, and it put a PowerShell, a init.ps1 that runs some kind of malware. It was rather an interesting video that he put up there, so I watched it. Just to let you know, it's called the app that they have that you can set it up on Windows is App Locker. So you can block some of that stuff yourself right through Windows. Not all of it, obviously. Nothing's 100%. Everybody knows there's only two things that are 100%.
I think this is an entirely separate topic. This is pointing to, number one, you already made the decision. You're sticking with Windows 10. And it's what's going on. So this is after October. Bolstering malware protection. You already decided to keep Windows 10. What are you going to do? How are you going to live with it? That's entirely different than are you going to upgrade or not? So in my book, this goes all the way down to the bottom of the,
the thing I give Microsoft credit for is Windows Defender over these last few years has done a pretty damn good job. It's not sufficient. We still need email protection. We still need internet protection, but Windows Defender has a good reputation. And by going to a different anti-malware program, you're giving up Defender. The question is it as good as Defender? So you gain.
I agree with Andy. I think that
as far as the other applications that are coming through with Windows 11, the ones that you mentioned, John, Notepad and the Paint program that are being upgraded on 11, I don't use the Windows 10 ones. I haven't used Paint in years. I have MS Paint. I haven't used Notepad. I don't care what they do. They can put a tab on it, put a bow on it. Who cares? I don't use Windows Notepad. I've used Notepad++ for years. I don't know. There was another application you mentioned. Oh, File Explorer. I don't use Windows File Explorer. There are others that are better, that suit my needs a hell of a lot better. So
I think you have a very good point here, that the things that are changed, the programs that come with Windows that would be vulnerable, you can replace with versions that are also compatible with Windows 11, so that you do not have that exposure. That's an option here.
Which goes back to whether it's BellArc or any of the other ways of, Gabe's text document with all his updates and upgrades along the way, a listing of what you have. At some point, I went over to Notepad++ because there was a reason, and I've never had a reason to look back. It does everything that I want and then some, and it's the difference between driving a Cadillac and riding on the back of a skateboard when you compare it to Windows Notepad on version 10. I wouldn't even consider. I don't care. They can keep Notepad. I'm not going to use it anyway.
Just a quick comment. Notepad++ is suitable for programmers likewise because it automatically indents. Agreed?
Yeah, I think this is something that you could add to this option, Fred, that replace the programs which are being upgraded because they are more vulnerable.
Okay, well, fair enough. Moving
If you
ahead.
use a third-party File Explorer, that company could be producing updates. That company could be producing new versions of it and updates and security fixes that may not be updated in File Explorer.
Going ahead, if I may. Okay, this is an idea. This is just an idea. The issue of being online is what concerns us most. So the solution might be just take Windows 10 offline. And there's a little app that I was using for a good long while called Internet Off. And it gives you a button down on your taskbar that you can toggle on or toggle off the internet as you so wish, or you can put it on a timer. That is, you can control when you're online, when you're connected, and when you're not connected. So if you're offline, this is just an idea, guys, you could switch to Chromebook or to Linux for internet access only. Of course, then some. You might like Chromebook, you might like Linux, but simply to be on the internet, which most of us are on anyhow, for our email, catch up on our news, you're isolated from your Windows 10. Maybe yes, maybe no. Remote desktop might be a means of a go-between to connect between your Chromebook, your Linux, and your Windows 10. Or you might create a simple network between the two. What do I mean by simple network? A simple network means, and this is what Copilot told me, but I already knew this, that is, you can use a crossover Ethernet cable if necessary, because Ethernet actually does auto switching anyhow. You don't have to have a crossover. Crossover means that one end is transmitting while the other end is receiving, but you don't have to have that because the adapter, the network adapters automatically sense sending and receiving. So you really don't have to have a crossover in most cases, or have a special USB transfer cable. The purpose would allow direct communication between two computers without needing a router or a switch. When you get a router or a switch like I had from upstairs and downstairs, it gets a little more involved. But for most users, you're not going to bother with that. But if I just give you a cable and say, hey, plug it in here, plug this one in there, you're good. So the configuration would be between two computers. You would assign IP addresses for each computer on the same subnet. Without getting too involved with networks tonight, that just enables you to have a connection between the two devices. And you also may have to adjust firewall settings. You might also have to enable file sharing. So what do you guys think about this as a possibility? That is, Chromebook?
I'm confused by,
Sorry.
you're talking about having two computers?
Well, your Windows 10, if it's going to be a disaster online, which everybody is hinting at, the sky is falling, take it offline. And then have another inexpensive computer, Chromebook, Linux, and use that for all your online stuff, and then have a network between the two, a simple network.
Yeah. I'm still a working consultant, and for seniors, have quite a number of times moved them from an old Windows computer to a Chromebook, because they do browsing on the internet, they print, and they do email, and they don't need anything more than that.
That's what it all comes down to, Drew. It depends what you're going to use the computer for. I agree.
Well, that's why we had the general meeting presentation from a guy from Canada about choosing a Chromebook. You can go back and look on our website in the past speakers, and there's a link to his presentations there about choosing a Chromebook. With Linux, you can take the existing computer that you have and divide up the main disk and put Linux on a partition and just boot to that, and still leave your Windows stuff over on the other partition. From Linux, you would be able to get access to your old files, which are still on the same disk, and not run Windows.
But there's always a question of the applications, John. There's always a question of the applications.
Well,
It's
I
like
have
you
been,
say, it's all personal what you're going to do. But I noticed on this slide, I don't see your Apple phone, or what's the other called, iPad. A lot of people that have an iPhone, you don't need a computer. You can use an iPad if you need something a little bit bigger for email. If you're just using email and surfing the net, that's only two things you need, especially for a senior. Because a lot of people like that because it's easy to use, easy to learn. And same case with the Chromebooks. If you have an Android phone, a Google phone, Chromebook is the same thing. So you're using two things that are identical. They both work the same. So you got to look at that.
I don't know.
I completely agree with you, Bob.
I don't know if this is the time. I was going to bring this up, and I have some links that I already looked into because I have been investigating the options for a long time for myself and to share with the club members. But if you have a smartphone, it is probably as powerful as your computers. And I have a couple of links, and I tried it myself. You can take your iPhone or your Android phone and add a keyboard, a monitor. You may already have a monitor, and a mouse, a Bluetooth keyboard. A Bluetooth keyboard and mouse I just bought on Amazon and tried it out using this with an external monitor and my iPhone, including an old iPhone which doesn't even have a phone number on it anymore. And you can use that as your computer. You have a keyboard, a mouse, and you can use your iPhone or your Android phone. Android phone has a desktop mode that it will fill up your whole screen. If you have an iPad, you can do the same thing. The iPad has a desktop mode. The iPhone, they just announced they expect that iOS 19 will introduce a desktop mode. So you have to buy a $30 adapter for the phone so that you can plug in the monitor at the same time that you plug in a charging cable. That costs $25, $30. I just got an excellent Bluetooth keyboard and Bluetooth mouse set on Amazon, $25. I already had monitors sitting around. I just turned my iPhone, my old iPhone, into a replacement computer. And I already know how to move around in those operating systems.
And
so you already have that.
Somebody else want to
on
make
an
a comment? Give somebody else a chance.
Yeah.
Drew?
Yes, I have on an opposite point. Google is in the beta for version 15 or 16 of Linux, of Android. Version 16 of Android is going to have a desktop mode. So when 16 is proliferated around, I think a lot of young people who live on their phones now will have the ability to just get a 24-inch monitor and a keyboard and a mouse, and they won't ever have a computer.
But John just mentioned back in, I can't remember how long it's been. I think we had a computer meeting there at the Microsoft store, because I had 2 Windows phones. And what John just said about a keyboard and all that, you could do all of that with a Windows phone. They were fantastic, but the problem was, what was his name? That was a CEO. Was I can't remember his name. Well, he was CEO. Anyway, he picked Nokia, I think was his the phone company used, which is a mistake. He should have used a different company. If he did, we'd still have a Windows phone, because all the things you just mentioned, John, Windows had it back when they had a Windows phone, and they had the first laptop even before iPad back in the 1990s, and they had this all-in-one laptop. It was a laptop, but with a flip-over keypad, just like the iPad, and it didn't take off. It was before its time, and they lost out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So I have just posted 4 links in here, 2 of them about a guy suggesting and then testing using an iPhone with an external Bluetooth keyboard, mouse, and a monitor, and one about the Android desktop mode, which I don't know, Drew. I believe that it's already present in Android. And there's an article here about it. And there's another one about using, creating a Windows 10 virtual machine. So anyway, I've posted these in the chat. Take a look at them. I have tested it. I have not used it extensively, but this guy, he talks about what are the difficulties, but you could try it out.
Samsung has a program called DeX, which stands for Desktop Experience. And if you plug take an HDMI cable that has an adapter for USB-C, I can plug my Samsung phone into a monitor and it will turn it into a desktop computer. All Android phones cannot do that today. When version 16 of Android comes out, all Android phones, no matter who manufactures it, will be able to have a desktop screen.
I think I'm looking at I'm looking at this whole thing all wrong, because the people that I talk to the most, friends, neighbors, relatives, my kids, older neighbors, 90% of what we're talking about now would either put them to sleep, their eyes would certainly glaze over. What CPU do you have? Is it Intel? Is it Ryzen? What generation? This operating system, this utility, put this cable on, HDMI. Look, don't bore me with the details. All I want to do it, that's what I zero in on. Question number 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. What do you want
to do with the computer?
And overwhelmingly, it's going to come down to, I want to be on the internet. Okay. I want email. Okay. That's okay. Maybe there's an application or two that they want to run. That's okay. But they don't want to be bothered with any of this crap. They're not going to do pick and choose on applications. They're not going to be doing the, let's set up a simple network. No, they're not doing it. They want something that's just going to work. Give them a laptop, give them a Chromebook, give them a desktop. It doesn't matter. All they want to do is get on there. They're bored if they have to type in a password. I want to get on. I want to do my internet browsing. That's it. Oh, do you have all your updates? What updates? What version of the OS are you on? What's an OS? They don't care. They don't care. You've all listened to it. You've all heard it. You've all seen it up front, up close and personal. They don't want to be bothered with any of this crap.
Just give me my Facebook. Just give me my Facebook and TikTok and X.
Thank you. Exactly. So concentrate on that. What do you have now? What do you need? What do you want to do? And overwhelmingly, it's coming down to a device, a simple device. Maybe they want a computer and they want to use their phone with it. Okay. But again, my experience, they're interested in the display. You want a good display, so get a big monitor if you want. And they're interested in printing.
Yeah, we're still talking though about as many as perhaps 500 million Windows 10 users that do more than what we're describing. There's, I think, 2 camps, Andy. I think there are the camps that just use email, get on the internet, Facebook, TikTok, and all that. And then there's guys like me who use Windows apps, and I use them on a regular basis, on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And I use old programs. I use legacy programs that still run in Windows 10. My Quicken still runs in Windows 10. I get it, Fred. Photoshop. My Photoshop still runs in Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Right, but you also have, number 1, the knowledge, the expertise, the interest, the time to overcome any gotchas along the way. If you go to run your app, and if you run an application on your new Windows 11 and you get an error message, you get a pop-up, this is incompatible, you're not going to, oh my God, you're not going to roll over and play dead. You're going to look to fix it. If there's an issue that you want to try to overcome, you're probably going to look for a solution. Most of the people that I know couldn't be bothered with that. That's why I get a phone call.
I agree, Andy. I agree with Andy, but we're not talking. The people that we're concerned with are the 2/3 of the people who are in this meeting who have to make a decision about whether to upgrade or not. And all those other people I'm not concerned with in this meeting. I agree with you. And I would tell them,
too, yeah.
My wife just uses an iPad and an iPhone. And I think that anybody who's got a smartphone is probably doing most of their computing on there, and they are not concerned with Windows 10. It's the people who do have Windows 10 and use it who have to make some choices. And they have a lot of options. And the simplest one is buy a new computer. Well, I can't afford it. Do you have a smartphone? You can use that. You can get, now, as the guy who gave the Chromebook presentation said, the $200, $300 Chromebooks are not worth it.
You need a
They're
Chromebook
going to
Pro.
give you headaches.
You
Go
need a
back
Chromebook
and
Pro.
listen to his presentation.
Yeah, you need a
He
Chromebook
gives you the
Pro.
reasons why. And they're not going to go to Linux. Most of the people in this meeting are not going to go to Linux. Maybe they would go to Chromebook. They can do everything that they need to do on Chromebook. But I think that most of them could probably afford to just buy a new computer. I'm looking and I'm thinking about going to a mini PC.
All right, let's move on, John. We'll get there. Let's move on. Let's move on. We'll
Can
have
I ask
plenty
you a
of-
quick question, Fred?
Yeah, sure, Mike.
Okay, we got 11 people that are knowledgeable about PCs. How many of us have ever gotten malware or a virus on our computer?
I have, unfortunately.
I have not.
Not me.
I mean,
I
we're
have-
smart
I-
enough not to click on the phishing stuff. And I don't know. I just think that if you, okay, there will be
I've gotten
security
it. I've
breaches in
gotten it.
10, but you're going to have to go to 11 eventually. They're forcing you to do it. So if you have to buy a new computer, my old one wouldn't go up because it's a i5 3 something. And but I bought a new one and I haven't changed that to 11 yet because I'm comfortable with 10. And Fred,
You
you
won't know.
were the
You
one
can-
when you changed to 11, Fred. You said you did everything you could to make it more look like 10. You were dissatisfied
Right,
with it, correct?
right.
Okay.
Right. You'll have time, we'll have the time to continue this discussion. Let me just move ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, the simple network wasn't such a hot idea for you guys. Okay. Option number 5 is a new PC with Copilot. Okay. Comments.
Why do you need Copilot?
Well, you need to have TOPS. What is TOPS? Trillions of operations per second. How many trillions? I don't know. 1 trillion is enough. I think they're talking about 30 or 40 or 300. I don't know.
Let's rephrase this. If you buy a new computer and it's not a several-year-old model, it will be a PC Plus because that's what they're going to be selling. It's not a question of should I get Copilot. If you bought a computer now, you could get one without that's not a PC Plus. But if you buy one 6 months from now, that's what's going to be on the market. Of course, if the tariffs stay in place, you're going to pay $1,000 more for whatever computer you get. So that's something that you didn't include in this. Now, he
Did
said,
not include
okay,
tariffs. John, I did not include tariffs. I stayed apolitical. I'm sorry.
yeah, but the thing is, how soon should I buy a computer?
Okay, are we having the same problem? You can't see the screen or you can?
Yeah, yep.
Can't see the screen.
Yeah.
You can or can't?
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right, let me do this. Let me take the link off of my machine and just open up a browser. Oh, shared screen is taught. Okay, all right, paste and go. Let me see if I can share the screen now. Yeah. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
With black bars.
Still have some black bars.
Participant. Yeah. Can you see we're down where the text is?
Still one down low, or two down low, actually. The little square and the long rectangle.
I don't know what it is, guys. Can you see the Copilot PCs? Tells you when
Yeah.
PCs are.
Yeah, it seemed to disappear after a couple of minutes, Fred.
Okay, that's a refresh. Okay.
If you scroll through, it's just down the very bottom. So
All right.
I can see power up and speed and all that.
Okay, so
Turbocharged. There we go.
turbocharging NPU. Okay, so you're going to be a whole new language here. And I told you the tops, it's 40 trillion operations per second. It's going to be a fast computer. It's going to specialize in AI. But AI, in my opinion, is changing so fast that, whatever you get, I don't know, will it be upgradable? I don't know. New features don't impress me. Microsoft is, promoting a lot of multimedia. Whatever these things are, there's always probably a catch.
Go back up to where you were talking about the CPUs.
Yeah, go ahead.
First thing is, if you buy a new AMD CPU, their chips are equivalent to the Intel latest chips, and they have the NPU built in. You don't have to think about it. It's a question here of what kind of things are you doing? The Ryzen chips are not as good for gaming as the Intel chips.
I think you'll get a debate on that, John.
So
right?
That's what somebody
Well, I'm
needs
sure
to
you
look
will,
up.
but I don't
Am
game,
I going to
so.
be doing gaming?
I
When
think you'll
I
get an
talked
argument
about
on that.
getting,
Yeah.
when I talked about getting a Snapdragon based PC, people told me that a lot of the applications and drivers are not available yet. So Snapdragon is a little bit new, even though it comes with the NPU already built in. You don't have to decide about an NPU, it's built in. Intel, most of their stuff have a separate chip for the NPU, and they haven't come out with an integrated one yet.
Now, here's my question. With all this emphasis on AI, I use Copilot every day. Why do I need AI on my own machine?
You don't.
Yeah. And
Well, because your software like Microsoft 365 is using AI stuff, and
it's
you'll
using,
have
yeah, using
I
it
had
now,
it
but why
turned
do I
off
even
on
have to
mine.
have it on Microsoft Office?
because they're jamming it down your throat.
That's my question. Yeah. Why do I have to have it on my machine?
No, you don't. I turned it off on my, Excel and Word and stuff. And if I need it, I'll just go on the website and type in what I want to know about writing a new macro or something.
It's like horse manure. It's all over. Why do I need it on my machine? That's my question.
You can leave your laptop right on your desk, and with the heat that generates, you can heat your whole house.
The point is, at a certain
Yeah.
point, just like they added a Windows key to the keyboard, they're going to add the Copilot key. And that's what you'll be able to buy if you buy far enough in the future. How far in the future? I don't know. There will still be some old PCs available over at Best Buy on the open box and stuff like that. But it's really, am I going to do gaming, or am I going to do heavy video editing, or am I just going to do web surfing? Web surfing, you don't need it, but it's going to get built.
You can always put a thumbtack point up on the Copilot key to train yourself not to press it.
Good one, Gabe.
If they
Well,
come
if you
out
want to
with
get,
if they come out with a Copilot key, it's going to be a new one on my keyboard. It's going to replace the shit key that I've had for years.
Now this is now a new feature that I thought was interesting. As you see, a lot of this stuff is multimedia. But this recall is like you go and do something, and then where the hell was I? 5 minutes ago. And the recall kind of goes back to where you left off. It's like an audit trail. So I kind of thought this was a cool feature, but this had nothing to do with AI. This is simply a feature.
Yeah.
I think of an operating system. It's like a history. We've talked about that kind of thing in Excel with Henry Hom. He does something, goes someplace else, and he wants to go back to where he was. it's like an audit trail. So this recall is kind of nice. I'm just highlighting that right now, but all this other stuff here, I'm not sold on it yet.
Microsoft introduced the Copilot key in January of 2024, and right now the Surface Pro 10 and the Surface Laptop 6 have that Copilot key already on them.
Just a matter of time. It's what's going to be on a Windows PC.
Unless it goes the route of the Windows Phone.
Well, if you don't want it, you can go to QVC or HSN and you can buy a Celeron processor and you can buy them for like $500 and just use it for what you want. It's like a Chromebook.
I still feel we're at the infancy of AI. I think there's going to be a lot of shakeout with AI. I'm not sold on why I need AI on my computer other than the way I'm using it now. And even if they wanted me to buy a subscription for AI, I would do it. I would do it. But to have it on my PC with a PC that has it, I'm not sold on it yet.
What's the benefit of having it on your PC when you can just have it on the internet?
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure.
it's because
How is it relevant to deciding whether to buy a new Windows 11 PC because your Windows 10 can't be upgraded?
It's
and
just
it's
one of
gonna
the
lose
choices,
support.
John. Just one of the choices.
Forget it. It's a non-issue.
No, it's
You're
not
going to
a
buy a
non-issue.
Windows 11 PC, and it's either going to have that or not, and you'll either use it or not.
Yeah, but it's an issue. It is an issue. It's an option.
Well, if somebody is rushing out to buy a new PC because they want that, well, then they want it for whatever reason, because they don't even know what it does for them yet, or they think it'll do something. I don't think that it's an issue. The issue is, can I afford, or do I have a political position that I refuse to let Microsoft force me to upgrade? If I can afford it, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to bash my head against the wall.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, just mentioning it tonight. This is more advanced options here, is to virtualize your Windows 10 machine. And VirtualBox makes it very easy. You can create a virtual machine from a Macrium backup. There's a app called VI Build, I believe, in VirtualBox, and it will load a Macrium backup as a virtual machine. And once you do that, you're good to go with a virtual machine. The other big player with virtual machines is VMware. The pros of doing that, in my estimation, is that it adds a level of isolation between your host, which would be, any program you wish, any operating system you wish, including Linux, and your guest being your Windows 10 machine. The con, it can be very technically confusing. Comments?
If you're virtualizing, but you're doing it on a Windows 10 machine, you still have all the problems of staying on Windows 10.
No. Your host is optional. Your host can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a Linux host.
Yeah, so it better be Linux to
Yeah,
avoid the problems of
yeah,
vulnerability of Windows 10.
agreed.
So this means install Linux, bring up VirtualBox, put in a Windows 10 virtual machine.
That is correct.
Now there's a program from Microsoft called Disk to VHD, comes from sysinternals, by which you can create an image of your existing Windows 10 system and install that into the virtual machine. Disk to VHD.
Okay, the VHD, guys, is what John is referring to as your virtual machine. So it's
Well, VHD is a virtual hard disk.
Yeah, virtual hard disk. Okay, but
it's an image of your existing Windows 10 system. And it can be installed into VirtualBox.
I've done that, and it's very, very time consuming. The cheapest and the most expedient way is a Macrium backup, and that will load within a couple minutes as a virtual machine. But creating a virtual hard drive from an existing disk is very, very challenging. Not for the
Macrium is not available free anymore.
It is. You can still get the free version.
You just can't get it from their website.
Correct.
The problem is a lot of people are not going to be technical enough to do
That's the con.
that.
Yeah, that's the con. Yeah,
A
obviously.
$200 PC, a mini PC, is going to get rid of a lot of headaches.
But the question is then, what do you do with all the apps?
Well, more and more apps are web-based.
Hate them.
Web-based, and also you have to pay for every year. You got to pay for every month.
Hate that too. Hate that too.
Yep.
All the software is moving into a subscription model.
Okay. Just some other thoughts, and it's beyond our scope tonight. Has anybody here, probably Drew, have you done any sandboxing?
I have not. I've used Docker, but not sandboxing.
Sandboxing is a feature of Windows, right? It's available on Windows 10.
Yeah, I've played around with Sandboxing, Sandboxie, and it's also a little technically challenging, but it isolates. It's like a layer of protection.
I use VirtualBox as my sandbox.
Yeah.
But Sandbox is in fact an available component of Windows 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do you know how you access it though, John, in Windows 10?
Yeah, I just typed into the search box Sandbox, and it brought up a whole list of things.
Mm-hmm.
Sandboxing creates a mini operating environment in your Windows 10 system. You could show us on your machine, Fred. Even if you just show the desktop and show us searching for it.
I've got a question. See, at the moment, it seems to be the most powerful machines are aimed towards the gamers. Sort of, what about university students and scientists? What sort of computing power are they using, and what is marketed towards them? Because presumably they want powerful processes for statistical analysis and other scientific investigations.
So the question is, what are students using?
Students and scientists.
If they're doing a lot of heavy data analysis, they're probably going to use Linux, because they're going to run Python.
So John, I typed in Sandbox. It came up empty with my Windows 11 machine here. You say it's native to Windows?
I just found it on Windows 10 when I did a search. And it says it's a system component. Run it as administrator or run whatever. And it's got sandbox.vhdx as a document, apps.
All right, let me, I have a video here. Let me see if I can get this video to how to enable and use Windows Sandbox. Let's see how long this video is.
Have we, Fred,
Yes.
for the people who feel that they have a decision to make, did they get information that helps them to make a
Well,
decision?
they're not going to make that tonight, but that's a good question.
Peter, Bill, Mike. Mike has a new Windows 11 machine. He's not using it much yet.
Well, I know Peter's concern, if I may, because I've talked to Peter about it, is access. Is that correct, Peter?
That's correct.
Yeah. All else is secondary. All
Wow.
else is secondary.
And access comes with Microsoft 365 or some version of it or some other instance of Microsoft Office.
365 is going up $30 this year from 99 to 129 a year subscription.
Yeah. But the thing is, the environment in which he runs Access is the question. He's going to be able to run it on Windows 11 or Windows 10, but he's got offices and places that you have offices that use Windows computers, right, Peter?
That's correct.
Those are, how many computers would you have to replace?
I just found out that Windows 11 Home does not come with the sandbox. You have to have Pro, Enterprise, or Education.
Thank you, Drew.
I have Windows 10
So
Pro.
Peter, how many computers will you have to replace?
About 7.
So it's not a small decision for you. It's a big business decision.
That's correct.
And all of those computers
I'm
have
not
to be
rocking
able
with a
to
lot of
run
this AI.
Access.
I have Windows 10 Pro, and I don't have Sandbox turned on. I just got into the, it's a Windows feature. You have to turn it on.
All right, let me run this short video on how to enable it.
Stuff, but AI on Wix, now that's a vibe.
Full screen.
In this brief video, I'll demonstrate how to enable Windows Sandbox on a Windows 11 Professional or Windows 11 Enterprise system. So here I have Windows 11 Professional in this computer. Now at this point, to enable Sandbox, we need to go and add this as a feature under the program feature. So just type in the search window, enable features, and then click here on turn Windows features on and off, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. Select Windows Sandbox and then click OK. Once installed, it will prompt you to restart your computer, and you want to go ahead and restart it. Once you have restarted the computer, you should be able to launch it by either locating it under the list of programs or simply click on search and type Windows Sandbox. Now, Windows Sandbox is a separate Windows environment on top of the host operating system for Windows 11 Professional or Windows 11 Enterprise. It's not available for Windows Home. Now here we can maximize this, and we can use this for testing, whether it's to test links from a website or to test applications, and it will not impact, none of these settings will stay with the virtual machine after you close that session. So it's designed to be a secure area for you to test software or to test various applications. So here's an example. So this will basically function just like a regular Windows 11. We can open here a browser, and I'll demonstrate by installing, let's say, TeamViewer. So we install the application, it doesn't matter what it is. Now that I have TeamViewer installed on the Sandbox, once I close the Sandbox application, it will erase all settings and everything that was added from the last time that I launched it. So we click OK here. Now if we go back and open Sandbox again, this will start with a brand new session with clean setup. Now Windows Sandbox also has the option where you can copy files from your host machine's desktop or any of the file locations and bring those files back to the Sandbox by copying and pasting them. So let's say I have this file here. I'll copy it, go and open the Sandbox, and then I can simply right-click here and choose Paste. Here's another example where you might have to check out a game or something of that nature, and you're going to all of these different websites, but you want to test it first on the Sandbox. So you go to that particular website and you try to download it. And as you know, with any of the free games out there, it's going to download a lot of junk in your computer. So now if we go ahead and run this, it's going to download who knows how many other things to our computer. Notice it's coming up with free ride games and then Solitaire Kingdom. So now let's suppose that this is not the game that we really want. Notice it has added all kinds of other stuff here. I've come to the determination that this is not really the game that I want. If I wanted something, I can go ahead and install it in the host machine. But now if I go ahead and close this, it's going to quit all the stuff that I downloaded. And now if I go and open the Sandbox again, it'll be a fresh start again. And my host system, the main one where I'm running the Sandbox, none of that is impacted. So
Okay, that'll give you the idea of a sandbox. It's another form of virtualization.
Yeah, so one of the things is if you created a Sandbox and ran your browser or your email program in the Sandbox, the only reason why you would need to do something is, let's say you got a file in an email, an attachment, and you save it, and it's in the Sandbox. Well, you can copy it back to the host machine. I just looked that up. I asked Copilot. So you could replace your Windows 10 system by running a Sandbox with the programs in it, and that would that would protect you in a way.
That's the idea. And the program that I used many years ago is called Sandboxy, Sandboxie. And I forget why I was using it, but I probably was just experimenting with it.
See, I think that the Sandbox would never be something that I would use because you don't have the option for persistence. So if you install a browser and you bookmark a page, it's gone. If you install your email client, it's gone.
There are ways that you would manage that if you needed to do this.
I think so.
You can create a copy of your bookmarks and save them and copy the file in.
A friend of mine has used something similar to this called deep freeze. He had been talking about that quite a long time ago. And what that does is when it captures an image of your system, and when you reboot it, it restores that image. But if you want to make a persistent change, you unlock it and you make your change, and then you tell deep freeze, okay, freeze it again. And now you've made the update. So with something like deep freeze, you have both benefits. You have instant garbage collection of garbage elimination, of anything you don't want. And at the same time, you can update the configuration so you can add things, change things, and they will persist across restarts.
They use that in libraries, and there is a free version similar to it, similar to the name Deep Freeze. I can't recall the name of it offhand.
Questions. It seems like you need, from everything you're saying, number one, you need Windows Pro, which most users aren't going to have. And number two, why would you use that instead of just using VirtualBox or VMware?
Because Deep Freeze is a whole lot simpler.
Now, what they do in the library, you can't save anything to the computer, so you have to save it to an external drive. So, anything that you want to save, you'd have to manage your saving procedure to an external device.
Well, the other option you have is to use a cloud drive. You can save your
Everything is
files to the cloud drive.
Yeah.
Now,
Thanks, Bob, for this security link. Andy, thanks for Sandboxing Plus. That looks good.
Why do you need too much there with Sandbox? Aren't you just using Sandbox to test new programs that you're not sure you want? And why do you have to save files from that and everything? If you like it, just install it. No?
Well, you could go to the internet, like he showed. He downloaded something. Or you go to the internet, do your work. The question is, how do you save it? How do you make it persistent?
Yes, the comment that Andy made, if you install Linux and create a virtual machine and put an image of your current existing Windows 10 system in that virtual machine, you'll be able to run all of your programs, Photoshop, whatever that you had on your Windows 10 system that you said, it's going to cost me $100 a year to have a Photoshop subscription if I go and replace my Windows 10 system with a new Windows 11 system because I'm using the old non-subscription version of Photoshop and I don't want to have to pay a subscription every year. Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's why you go and you refuse to upgrade to Windows 11. But you can keep your Windows 10 system and buy a new Windows 11 computer and run VirtualBox and put a copy of your old Windows 10 system in that VirtualBox and run Photoshop over there. There's a couple of extra steps, but you have your old Photoshop license. That's how you move your existing licensed Photoshop that runs on Windows 10 into a Windows 11 environment.
Well, I do that. Just keep my Windows 10 and buy Windows 11 and only use my Windows 10 when I need what's on it and use my Windows 11. Like I have a number of programs on my Windows 10. I have a Surface Pro that I bought not that long ago and it's not upgradable. i5 is built to the hilt. It's not upgradable. I mean, I could, they say you can hack it and make it work. I'm just going to keep my wife's Windows 10 and my Windows 10. I'm just going to leave them alone and just not use the internet.
That was one of the slides. That's
yep.
One of the possibilities.
I got 3 other computers. Right now I'm using a desktop with Windows 11, and I got a laptop with Windows 11. So I've got 2 Windows 11, 2 Windows 10s, and if I need the internet, I'll use the 11. If I don't need to put a Windows 10.
Or go back to an iPad or a phone. Yeah.
Yeah, right. My wife uses her phone most of the time anyway.
But
she's got the big ones.
Does anybody else here have the financial burden that Peter has pointed out? He has a business situation and has to upgrade 7 PCs. What's his choice of which PCs? Because in that environment, he can't keep using Windows 10. It's too vulnerable, in my opinion. I mean, I, as a business owner, would, if I were a business owner, I would not do that.
But you got to consider too, if all those things are compatible, everything he's running, or is it compatible with Windows 11 is the problem. I went to have something I had to go to the hospital. Actually, it was a EKG, or it's not an EKG, a CAT scan or something. And I'm looking at the guy's monitor. He has Windows 10 on it. I said, one of them, I think he had XP. I said, that's old software. He says, yeah, because they're not updating it. And this is in a hospital that makes tons of money, and they're using old systems. Not only the machine, this computer, but the machine he's taking the pictures with is old, but it does its job. That's fine, as long as it does its job.
Let me go back to Peter for a moment. Peter, let me go back to Peter for a moment. Peter, what version of Access are you using?
I'm using Windows 365.
Windows, I'm sorry, which one?
365.
Oh, you are using 365. Oh.
He's up to date.
Yeah, you're up to date then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't have to do a thing.
So he's using a subscription. Doesn't matter.
And it works on the 7 computers you have now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But you see, Windows 365 support on Windows 10 is also going to stop.
Right.
OneDrive is not going to work on Windows 10 after support is terminated.
There's ways around that.
Oh, there's ways around everything. You found ways around things.
But I outfitted a customer with a computer from Amazon last week, $199 for an Intel 12th generation, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gig drive.
Might I've got a question for John Stanfield. He mentioned he was talking about Photoshop. Does Photoshop have its own, if you've got a Photoshop license, does it have its own separate dedicated cloud storage?
Does Photoshop have a separate cloud storage? Yeah, I'm sure it does. Adobe, yeah.
Yeah.
If you pay for the subscription, yes.
Yeah.
Not if you have an old non-subscription version. Unless you bought that separately.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about
so
Photoshop, but a friend was using it and he died recently, and we haven't been able to find the files that he'd been working on, which he's supposed to hand over to another person. And he was using Photoshop. So I'm wondering if what he was working on would have been in a Photoshop cloud.
Well, there is an account when you sign up with Adobe, you can create an account. So you would have to know his account.
Yeah. Adobe charges about $20 a month for the Photoshop licensing system that they have now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know he certainly had Photoshop license and software, so that might be where the files have disappeared to. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, I think we had a fruitful discussion. I hope we all got something out of thinking about this, more than I expected from the comments, and we shall see, as they say, as the blind man said.
Oh, well, the one thing we didn't cover, for those of you who don't know this, if you have a Windows 10 computer that has an OEM license from the manufacturer, you cannot, and I've tried this, install Windows 11 clean and have that Windows 10 license activate Windows 11. What you must do is install Windows 10, at least reinstall it clean, and then upgrade it to Windows 11.
Makes sense.
Which goes back to what I was saying about do the upgrade first. Do the upgrade first and see what's going on.
So,
So he's saying
so
you
if you
can't.
have an
He's saying you
OEM
can't.
like,
Drew
you
is
have
saying
an
you cannot do that. I have a
No,
Windows 10 OEM. I have actually a Windows 7 that I upgraded to Windows 10. It took the 7 license, and I put the 10 in virtual machines, and I've run Windows 11 in a virtual machine without any problems. But I don't think I can upgrade my Windows 10 to Windows 11 for that reason also. In addition to my hardware not supporting it, I won't be able to upgrade my Windows 10 because it's already been updated from an OEM Windows 7.
Another
So one of the things,
twist.
one of the things you got to worry about too. Remember back in Windows 8 or whatever it was, where they stopped supporting it, and Chrome was still supporting Internet, but you couldn't use Explorer, Internet Explorer. They stop it, so that's what they can do with this. They'll just stop letting you even access the Internet on Windows 10, which you don't want to do anyway if it's not supported anymore anyway.
Well, one thing that they're probably going to do at some point is prevent Office 365 from running on Windows 10.
Yeah,
So
I
that
just
if
said
you,
that.
yeah,
I said that. I said that they've already announced support for OneDrive and Microsoft 365 will end on Windows 10 when support for Windows 10 ends. Won't work.
Well, will they still be supporting it though if you pay the $30? So how are they going to do that?
The $30 is only for security updates, as far as
That's
I
right,
understand.
security. That's right, you're right, security and stuff like that.
yeah.
So we have a question which we should get an answer for and post in the Windows subgroup.
Windows 10 forum, something like that.
Hey, a quickie before everybody bails out. How many out of the 9 remaining, who's using a Chromebook or who has Chromebook experience?
I have a power Chromebook. I have a $1,000 Chromebook. I have a Chromebook. It's more like, it's not a plus, but it's a pro. It has a terabyte of storage. It has 32 gigs of RAM, and I use the virtual Linux that they provide in the Chromebook.
Okay.
And I have Thunderbird installed in there. I've got LibreOffice installed. So I use it. You know, I can run Android software, I can run the browser, and I can run any Linux apps.
I have Chrome OS in a virtual machine. The problem is not the program itself. The problem is and Drew can probably attest to this, the people who use Chrome, they just, they're not up to anything when it comes to technology. It's next to
There's not
impossible.
much you can do.
It's not what you can do with Chrome. It's what you can do with people who are attempting to use Chromebooks. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've had 3
Turn on the
Chromebooks.
camera. Get your microphone to work.
Yeah.
What?
No, I've had 3 Chromebooks, and basically I just use them for web browsing and Zoom sessions.
Yeah, well, you're savvy, Richard. I'm talking about my friends. I just put the Chrome OS to help him, but even trying to help him, I have to do remote desktop, and even with remote desktop, it's like pulling teeth.
I have a question entirely unrelated to everything we've discussed. Looking at some of the pictures, it seems that at least 2 of you have interesting looking fake sunglasses floating on your faces.
Hmm.
And I'm intrigued by that. What's up with that?
Those are
It's part of
filters,
Zoom.
Zoom filters.
Yeah, in
so
settings. you
why
can-
are you what are you accomplishing with the artificial sunglasses?
For me,
They're
I
hiding
pulled
their wrinkles.
I pulled an all-nighter last night, and I have black rings under my eyes.
Okay, so it's vanity and cosmetic. I understand.
security in my part. My picture should not be used to create fake Facebook accounts.
John doesn't want his face all over the internet.
Guys, on that note, I'm going to end the meeting.
Good night.
Very, very interesting.
Good night, all.
Very,
Very much. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you
Okay.
all. Thank you, Fred.
All right,
Thank
everybody be well. Until next time.
Thank you for having this meeting, Fred.
Okay,
I
Mike.
appreciate it, and I think I enjoyed the discussion, and I hope it was beneficial to other people as well.
It's a starting point. It's going to be ongoing.